yesterday and today, and the countries talked about economic growth, food security, health, green innovation, energy security, of course, dialogue between civilizations and security. We can actually say that if there is a need to give an introductory phase, I think I can say that with the US's partial withdrawal from the Middle East, the example of Afghanistan, we have seen the example of Syria. These two developments and other developments that came afterwards required Gulf states to search for partners, search for economic partners, search for geopolitical partner, and also political and commercial partners. Of course, the normalization between the Gulf states with Iran, with Israel, with Turkey, and also the inside normalization between the Gulf states, which is the blockading countries, ended their blockade against Qatar. This was all the result of Chinese, US, and Russian relations, actually. Also, the Russian-Ukraine war paved the way for the Gulf states to rise as energy actors again. Therefore, they have increased their capacities and alliances and cooperation with non-Western countries. Also, India is one of them. Korea is one of them. And also China is one of them. Today, actually, we are talking about these issues.
And we have a serious also global developments like Ukraine war and also Chinese rise and other different developments. I think let's start with the Qatar World Cup and how this is politicized. I mean, this is a sporting event, but it was politicized in the Western circles so much that caused a big problem. I mean, they talk about democracy, human rights, and stuff. I mean, this World Cup happened also many times. In Russia. I mean, Russia is demonized today, but I mean, nobody talk about when things were good. Nobody talk about Russia. I mean, problems or human rights in Russia, etc. And so there is a kind of a selective response, selective maybe framing of these developments. And I want to congratulate, of course, first the Qatar. I mean, Qatar's organization, strong organization, also representing Muslims in a good way, in a very sympathetic way, because generally Muslims are always, or in the Arab world generally, is depicted in a negative way with problems, terror, and chaos, all these. And now you see a good side of it, and being able to enact or organize such a successful way, I think, is an achievement and is good for everybody. And future also maybe chances for Muslim countries like Turkey or Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Morocco, for example, Algeria, or any others, Pakistan or Central Asian, Turkish republics all over. They can host. I mean, of course, there are conditions and kind of competition, but it is better to give everybody a chance in this. And this was, in a way, a successful organization. And also, let's congratulate Morocco for today's win, and it was a historic win. We unfortunately we won't see Messi and Ronaldo. Maybe this was the final chance or last chance for us to see them playing in the World Cup. But of course, I mean, the World Cup is not only about Messi and Ronaldo. Of course, they are good players. I mean, but every nation is competing. Even we realized even Portugal kind of they give up on Ronaldo because they focus on winning the match more than making the case for Ronaldo or other things. So politics, economy, culture, and sports, all things came together, and it was a very interesting moment in the history. This is, I think, one thing also with the issue of LGBT rights and all these nonsense propaganda also impacted, try to make a case against Qatar, but also we've seen that I mean, the Muslims, of course, don't use alcohol, and they made a big issue of that. And every country has its own culture, so should be respected. And alcohol and other things are not from the essential things. And sometimes even people get drunk, and these spectators, these watchers, sometimes get drunk. They hurt each other and stuff. Of course, we should respect Qatar's decision on this. And one thing also, of course, this created, I think, a huge sense of solidarity among Arabs, especially after Qatar was demonized and kind of tried to be bullied in the international media circles with all kinds of, biased propaganda. This brought Arabs together, and so this kind of created a unity among Arabs, especially the Morocco's success also gave them a sense of motivation to come united. I see today also the match showed this support, solidarity with among the Arab nations, and this is generally positive. And one more thing, maybe, I mean, the financial aspect of the World Cup, of course, is big, and Qatar spent a lot of money on this for the security, for hotels, for the stadiums. Of course, Qatar don't have enough people to fill these stadiums all the time. So some of the stadiums were built portable. So I think they donated some of them to other Arab countries like Tunisia. I remember one, and it is a solidarity. It's also came with the Biden threats against Saudi Arabia, which is also related to the Chinese visit. We'll come to that, but at the end, we see that the solidarity in the World Cup also matched the Biden threats against Saudi Arabia, and then it backfired. So Arab countries came together. I think, like Morocco, they built a sense of confidence among themselves, and they are proceeding. And they are proceeding also with China. Maybe you follow the China case more than many people. And we want to hear what is the significance of China's president Xi Jingpin. And if other audience also want to have the mic, please ask the mic, and you can express your ideas and maybe questions. But Gökhan, let's listen to you and the visit, why it was important, especially in this time of history. Thank you.
Thank you, Hocam, for this introductory talk. Actually, before coming to the Xi Jinping visit, I think I need to say about a few words for the World Cup. Hocam, as you know, as our
Sure.
dear participants know, although no official figures appear to be available, it is speculated that Qatar has invested something above 220 billion or $300 billion over the last decades, because Qatar was awarded this World Cup in 2010. There has been 10 years over the last decade. Qatar has been working towards how to organize it, what to organize, what in what issues, and also this was a transforming situation for Qatar. Of course, along the way, as you have spoken about it, Hocam, Germany, England, France, these kind of European countries, for the most part, and other countries mainly criticized Qatar about the working people's rights, about the gender issues, and also for this is something quite interesting. Qatar was criticized for how tiny it is. Some persons or some media channels launched propaganda against Qatar because it is so tiny, it cannot develop or it cannot hold the World Cup. But we saw that nothing major, great problem is there now. Qatar is smooth about this process. And also, I think this is about the Gulf states organizing high-profile events, not merely the World Cup or not merely the football, has a major impact on the Gulf nations' political economies, I can say, because as you know, the Gulf states have already have economies based on natural resources, and they have striven to diversify their economic resources and realize their transition from oil dependency to becoming post-oil economies. Because when you depend on just one economic sector, it is so dangerous for you to have a stable economies, and that's why these countries say that Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, and Bahrain, they have striven to diversify their economic resources. Also, with the World Cup in Qatar, we can say that the competition for worldwide events in the Gulf has heated up even more. Last year the United Arab Emirates hosted the 2020 World Expo, and next year it will host the 28th UN Climate Change Conference. The COP 28. This was the COP 27 was held in Egypt, Sharm el Sheikh this year, and the United Arab Emirates was the country to send the most representative. There were 1,000 representative of UAE Emirati persons. In this regard, it is reported that Saudi Arabia is contemplating a joint bid with Greece and also and Egypt for the 2030 World Cup. And also, Saudi Arabia has a bid for the 23rd World Cup, World Expo. Also, I think I can say that from here, World Cup being held in Qatar, I think introduces the Qatar to the world in general and brings it to the fore in the Gulf and in the Middle East. That's why the partners in the Gulf, the Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and other Kuwait, Oman, and Bahrain, should support Qatar, and international actors should recognize Qatar in this respect, because we have seen that there were many criticisms, there were many media propaganda, black propaganda against Qatar, but this does not mean that all the things about Qatari organization of World Cup is about criticism. The FIFA president Gianni Infantino especially say to the Qatari, especially say to the people that criticize Qatar, you should be apologizing for the next 20 years, because for migrant workers before starting to give moral lessons to the people. Also, he said that these criticisms are one-sided, moral lesson giving, and just hypocrisy. Also, we have seen that FIFA president summed it all well with his latest statements. And also, I think, if I can remember correctly, the Football Federation of France and also the Emmanuel Macron and also the other high-level people say that the European criticisms against Qatar are only hypocrisy. Also, we have seen such surprises for the country, for Qatar, for not just political economic issues, but also the football itself.